There's the Bing, and we're live, and it's EuroAsia Scrum with Sam and Thomas. Let us share that screen in the way that we do at this time in the morning. Not that screen, but this screen over here with members on it. Let me ask you, Thomas, how are you doing?
Thank you, fine. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. All the better for you being here.
Thank you. Well, I'm fine. I have a big day ahead of me. I'm deploying some code to a staging server. We have a client meeting tomorrow at my work, and we have to demo an application that I've been working on for the last 3 weeks. So I'm struggling with. We don't use any platform as a service provider, no Heroku, no Cloud9, no nothing. So we have to deploy our apps on an Apache server with a Fusion Passenger server running applications.
All right.
So I've been, yes, well, I've been doing a lot of deployment before. I managed to automate the process so I can use Git to push out code. So I'm happy for that, and no more zip files and shit. Yeah, so we set up some virtual servers last night, prepared the platform for deployment, and I'm just laying the finishing touches on the code, and we're gonna be, deploying and running manual tests this afternoon. So it's exciting.
Good stuff.
Yeah. And since this is a legacy code base that I inherited, they use some techniques to they make use of jQuery a lot, with the Ajax calls, and they use it in a different way than I'm used to, and what we used in Website 1 and other projects that we use that. So it took me a while to grasp it. For instance, if something goes wrong, I don't get a nice output with better errors or anything. It's just I have to go into the log and see what went wrong, basically.
Right.
So that's a little bit frustrating. A lot of manual searching through the logs. But it's a great learning experience. So I've picked up a lot of new things over the course of the last 48 hours. So I'm happy about that. So. And apart from that, I'm preparing for tonight's dev meeting. For Website 1. And yes, I'm gonna get my new MacBook Pro today.
No, really? Oh, excellent.
Yeah, so we just got a state of the art machine, so I'm very happy.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's about it for my day.
Okay. All right.
Paddy is still sick, so we don't get any sleep.
Sorry to hear about that for Gigi. Go on, Gigi. You can get better. Go on. Do it. Be nice to your parents.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's rough. Okay, so we do. Yeah, good to hear. Doing me. Yeah. So the local support. Yeah, continuing to bob and weave. Yeah, I think I may have to push the local support client meeting to next week because of my schedule with makers. Yeah, just I mean, I'm very impressed with the Rails 4 move over that John and Marion and Michael have done. Although again, it sort of keeps me thinking about the process of gradually removing, older code, as I was talking to you about the Website 1 yesterday. But anyway, so things are blocking me. I mean, actually, what I'm just working on for Agile Ventures is I'm working on here, John Moorbacker did a very interesting controller extension thing for Rails, like riffing on. I kind of wrote this mechanism for consolidating across a couple of different controllers, so that we could pass scopes in. I guess if I show you here, like one of the incoming parameters on the URL would be an array of scopes that could then be applied. And what that means is, we set up here only for the admin, but the admin can then, through just the browser, select a series of scopes on the model and kind of play with setting up different views of the data, including also setting different templates and different layouts. The idea is to give the admin user the ability to kind of like mix and match with different subsets of data, different templates, different layouts to kind of rapidly prototype views. which was sort of my thing. And then John came in and did this like really hardcore thing with kind of a controller extension, and he's got this pulled out as a service. No, is it one of the services? Yeah, and so what that did is it like in the way in which you would specify the path. Mine was really messy, like saying layout, template, scope, and basically through this he's been able to, you can now do like an organization's path and like I'll just do it less. You end up being able to specify the kind of thing that you want using like organization's path, and then you do like service index like this, and you're just like it really simplifies the path, and now basically you can kind of you can specify, given that you've then worked out this is the prototype thing that I want to work, you can then give that a name, and so like this, if I want to call the without users thing and get all of these, that basic functionality in there, then I do it with, I just put without users in here. So it provides a really neat naming system for that, and it also, like, where there are sort of special extra instance variables that you need to do with maps and so on, they're all handled, in this, and a nice thing kind of in a chunk there. I mean, I'm still sort of slightly suspicious of services, but it means that the index in the organizations controller, which you can see over here, is very slimmed down there, and controls, and it's using this. It's dynamically extending the controller at runtime based upon the incoming service specification. So that's, it's a very interesting, riff that he's done on my basic thing. And now what I've done is I've been simplifying his thing and trying to work out in relation to, so he ended up then having a whole series of controller specs, and I've kind of been down on controller specs as just feeling that they're kind of, they're replicating too much of what we're seeing at the acceptance test level. And so I've just done a refactoring of his that turns, and I think it's almost now working, that basically does a unit test of his controller extensions model completely independent of any Rails machinery. Which, so there's a kind of ongoing debate there about, which bits do we need, between, I guess it's like acceptance testing, arguably, like John seems to be very fond of these intermediate kind of what he calls request specs, we might call them integration tests, that basically test the controllers independently of the views, that the things that he seems to like writing a lot. We've got an example here. Yeah, that basically they do this kind of thing here, where it's hitting the controller and it's running the whole Rails engine, but you're not simulating the acceptance test level where the whole user interface. You're kind of arbitrarily poking at the API and checking the responses that you get, which is I don't know. I mean, I'm still trying to find what is the right balance for that. And John and I have been having a big, long, ongoing discussion in the pull requests. Anyway, that's.
It's interesting. I do that also, of course. The controller specs. I have quite a lot of them.
I mean, I kind of and Armando was very keen on the controller specs, and I'm just, partly the Makers Academy influence is pushing me towards only acceptance tests and unit tests. And I wonder about the drag coefficient of the controller tests. I mean, I think we've got a lot of controller specs, and I think to the extent that the acceptance tests, the controller specs that kind of are then in there as kind of an early warning system, in that ideally the controller specs run faster, so you get a message that you've done something that has screwed up things down the chain earlier if you've got the controller specs. The problem is then you have the maintenance overhead of making sure that your controller specs are in sync with what's really supposed to be happening. And they're not actually testing the business results that you necessarily need in the way the acceptance tests are. Anyway, the debate.
I see what you mean. You're making a good point, because I see, when I was going over my controller specs, they tend to be many and messy after a while. When you do a change, like I was struggling with the scopes, for instance, so I had to make some changes in the controller, how we call blah 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 things. And then my test starts to, of course, break because we change some params or whatever,
Right, exactly. And
I was like, well, but since I'm also result driven, I want to see in my head, I want to see the application from the user's perspective, what I do. And then, so acceptance tests, are easier for me to understand, because then I know, I can see, in my own head what the user is doing.
Yes.
But whereas the controller specs are more abstract, and they tend to be, it's not so easy to see where they instantly pinpoint where they are breaking and why. Like.
Yes, I mean, ironically, the controller specs are supposed to give us, a more precise pinpoint on what's breaking and why. But I think that there's a fundamental issue in that the controller specs are very difficult to understand, even if you wrote them. They're just not as.
Yes, exactly. That's my point. They're not unreadable, So it's easier to see, in acceptance tests where things go wrong.
Yes. Independently of whether they're in RSpec or Cucumber. Anyway, interesting discussion, I guess. But
just have to say, I'm in my app now. I'm writing all my feature specs in RSpec right now. So I'm.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I see the point of it, and I see the beauty of it as well. So.
Yeah, I mean,
but I'm still convinced that Cucumber is better for a non-technical person.
Yeah, well, and I think the thing about Cucumber is that Cucumber adds another layer of abstraction. And the critical thing is that, almost maybe you don't want to introduce Cucumber too early if you don't have too many non-technical people who have to see the things right at once. I think what happens is that, there's a natural process where your RSpec acceptance tests end up, as they get more complex and you dry them out, you get a layer of abstraction. At that point, you might as well be writing them in Cucumber. I don't think you're not when you've already got that level of abstraction there. As long as you don't, I think there is a danger with Cucumber of like multiply nesting the steps, so that steps refer to other steps and other steps. And there's a argument to say that it should be like one level that's ideally all.
Yeah, but the non-technical reader shouldn't see that,
Oh, absolutely, yes. Yeah. But we're thinking about the maintenance issue rather than the non-technical.
Yeah, but okay, just a quick question before we wrap it up. Drying out versus readability, because I feel that if you dry out the specs too much, they tend not to be so readable anymore.
Yeah, well, I think that and this is the whole thing that my articles on clean code versus business logic is really all about, is that anytime you dry out, I mean, you're introducing a dependency, and it's dangerous to dry out too early. Similarly, at every level, whether it's doing it in Cucumber, whether it's doing it in RSpec, whether it's doing your application code, whenever we do any kind of writing a method or a class or whatever, is abstracting away some complexity and giving it a label. And the critical thing is that there is a match between the label and what it does under the hood. Every time we have a mismatch there, and it's very challenging because, of course, some people think different things when they see different words. But it's the same up and down. Did you get a chance to read my articles?
I read the first one and the second one only partially.
Yeah, okay, well, no, if you read the first one, you got the key thing. But anyway, so we should. I think we're having a local sport retrospective on Friday. We will see. I maybe pushed it off another week. Other things is we've got, I think, AV102 and the MOOC going out today. I guess I tried to delegate, that there were some issues that the AV102 people brought up about the MOOC in the Slack chat, and I thought, right, I've got to take a more executive role, and I flagged you and Sam Pretty and Mike Smith, and I sort of assumed you're too busy to have looked at.
I'm sorry, I was, the last, yeah.
You're massively overloaded, but anyway, we'll see. I mean, I guess that's my main thing today, is I've got to get into that. I mean, the other thing is that guy Amjad who came in. I mean, that was great to have a new person coming in and saying he wanted to contribute to open source. I'm a little bit worried about somebody who hasn't done any of the kind of agile training that we have done through SaaS, or been involved kind of in putting them directly in contact with one of our new non-profits, particularly if they're going to do like a Java solution that we don't have experience in the community of. So I don't know. I mean, I think I'm not necessarily going to be able to make the what is it called? Adventures Weekly meeting this week, but I should do next week. I don't know. There's clearly some of the non-profits I've been chatting to are, very like, oh yes, let's kind of do something. Just for me, I mean, I think that personally, I almost don't have enough bandwidth to really properly organize those things at the high level to the extent that's not bringing in revenue. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd love to be hooking up lots of devs with these new non-profits, but I'm just not sure how that's gonna work. Anyway, we're all very busy, but I mean, good to have things happening like that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, well, I guess that's it. Unless there's anything else we need to resolve.
No. Just as usual. We need to get some more people into our scrums and
Yeah.
make people our members, and also.
Yeah, I mean, I
You
guess
know.
that I mean, I mean, you've heard this before. The thing that I feel at the moment, and it's partly because I see the scrums are, is there's still kind of a glaring mismatch between what the language of what's in the site and what happens with the scrums. Like in particularly when we look at the event. I mean, I guess like R1 here, as we're coming in, like this live soon, if this had the counter,
I,
there's just sort of a series of things, and I
Yes,
guess
yes,
like
I totally agree, and this is, as well as that this is a problem child of mine. So
yeah,
we're
yeah,
trying to address this with the best of our ability. However, I just
mm,
must point out that, Sam, we are using Slack as the main communication channel. People are not. I mean, I can show you statistics that this site is not used by our members. You know.
well, I think there's anecdotally there's any number of people who have tried to come in through that mechanism,
All right.
and
Okay. Fair enough.
but like,
And I take that upon me. But this is only the part of the problem, actually. But absolutely.
yeah, well, no, that's something true. I mean, maybe at some level, scrums is just not the way forward. Maybe getting people to scrums is not the way, and what we need is just more people online permanently in IM chat, sort of chatting to people and hanging out and relaxing with them. Yeah,
Somebody, I don't know, was it you or was it somebody else that suggested, or was it Christopher? Scrum over Slack. So that people don't have to join in.
yeah. I mean, I mean, what would be absolutely beautiful was if we could have some sort of setup where the scrum was being streamed and embedded, and the chat in the
Absolutely.
scrum also appeared on the site, so that people could like take part and they could also ask questions at sort of a much more
Yeah.
remote.
However, I'm saddened by this because I strongly believe that face to face, or as face to face as
Right,
we can
right,
get, is
but
the
I think
best way.
it's all about we need to get them on the slippery slope towards face to face. I think they need to people need to
Yes.
be able to kind of come in at a distance and sort of gradually move in. And we anyway, but again, there's a whole
But the thing is that's also new members, and I understand that. The thing is that I know that we have members online right now. They are not joining the Scrum.
sure, yes. Well,
That's
maybe we should be asking them why they're not joining the scrum. I don't know. I
Yes.
mean,
We can take that as a discussion later at some
yeah,
point.
I mean, the other thing is also with the emailing thing is what we could be doing is we could be sending out we could be trying to do questionnaires to try and canvass our members about what changes they would like to see or what changes they think would make a difference for them. Anyway,
Listen, I'm going to prepare a mailing, a newsletter to our members in Google Docs, and process it with you, what we would like to
yeah,
take up. So if we could try to send something out by Friday.
yeah. Well, presumably we want to have another client meeting at some point.
Absolutely soon, yes.
Yes.
Sir.
Okay.
Yes,
I'll
yes.
let me know when that is. All right. Great. Thanks, Thomas. I'll speak
All
to you
right.
soon. All right. Bye
Yes.
for now.